Welcome back to the epic workout where we're going to wrap movement and mind-body activation around key themes, in today's case, teamwork, so that you can unhide what really matters for yourself and the world. I'm Alex Iglesia, creator of the epic workout and Being Epic, and we're using the 44th hexagram, gene key, and human design gate, the 44 of teamwork and interference and synarchy. So we'll be doing some movements that are gentle in your body, and even though we're on the ground for the most part today, there's going to be some challenge. Here's what we're doing. We're starting with the movement patterns that make up the 44th hexagram in the theme of teamwork, and I'll explain what those are and why they work. Second, a bit of mobility, because we really need our shoulders and our spinal, our lateral spinal mobility to be intact. Third, a couple challenging movements. You can totally do them and it's scalable. And fourth, a final, more integrative dive so that you can unlock, unleash, and have fun with your gift of teamwork. So here we go. Ready? So you can have a seat and you can do this standing if you like, but today we're going to be using the floor as part of our team. We're building the 44th by going back, up, and wide. So the movement shifts us a bit into self, action, and width or reflection. The idea here then is, what are you as attending to yourself in action and reflection, or being able to take a perspective? Self, action, perspective. Think about that, self, action, perspective. Ideally, you have good self-esteem. You think well of yourself as an agent in the world. You've got a sense of power and motivation, and you can think and reflect well on it. Negatively, you might have some shame, some guilt, some sense of collapsing or not believing in yourself. So that's the first pose or mode. And this makes up the bottom trigram, the bottom 3 lines of the 44th gene key hexagram and gate. The top trigram, the top 3 lines are forward into the world, staying active, and also wide. So the one thing that's different is we're shifting from back to forward, from self to world. Forward, up, and wide is called mesh. Now, I'm leaning forward, you're sitting, you're leaning forward. It doesn't have to be a big move. It's very much the quality of your attention and awareness. Forward, up, and wide, mesh. So here's where we want to be able to move your spine laterally, a little bit rotationally, because if we're forward in the world, you're doing this with me, right? If we're forward in the world and active and being able to take perspectives, we have a lot of freedom. And ideally, this is a sense of joy and creative adventure and being with people and being with everything there is. So let's put the two together. Back, up, and wide is gateway. Forward, up, and wide is mesh. Self-esteem, collaboration. Self-esteem, collaboration. Find a sense of flow with that now. Forget about the themes for a moment, just get the movement. Make sure you're actually shifting your awareness from out to in, from in to out. These are the themes we're building for the whole practice today. We'll finish. We'll come back to this later and do a deeper, more integrative dive. Rest for a moment. Let's analyze this, because what mobility do we need? What does our body need to be capable of to be able to execute, to enact these movements? First, we've got a lot of shoulder going on. Shoulder flexion, shoulder abduction. We've got spine stability. We've got hip flexion in this case, but we could be standing and we'd still need a bit of hip flexion and extension. And we'll need a bit of freedom to rotate through the spine and pelvis. Shoulder endurance, that's part of it. So do you see where we're going with this? Our first mobility move then is take your hands to your shoulders and draw elbow circles. Now right now I'm noticing the light patterns, which is not ideal, right? This light pattern is not ideal for making a video that you want to share that looks professional and wants to give you some gifts. But hey, we're playing with a shadow here of interference, and we're aiming for the gift of teamwork. So how often do we need to, in our life, create some teamwork, clean up some interference, do the best with what we've got, and maybe even that what we've got is the right thing. Change directions, elbow circles. Now slow it down enough that you can breathe all the way in and all the way out. The breathing doesn't have to be synced with the movement. In fact, find a natural breathing pattern and a natural elbow circle pattern. Now, if you're feeling clicks in your shoulders, make the movement smaller or slower. And if it's feeling good, see if you can expand the range of motion without efforting too much. Okay, second movement, mobility-wise. Lay down on your back for a bridge, feet on the floor, and up you go. Just about halfway. So don't engage your back too much. Definitely don't arch your back. Keep it low. You can drum your belly. We're going to hang out here for just a minute until you feel the tension start to pack up in your hips. If there's any pain in your low back, drop it down. If it's really easy, don't lift higher right now, but try to feel more of your legs, more continuity from feet to your legs and hips. Maybe even engage your belly like you're Jean-Claude Van Damme getting ready to receive a coconut on your gut. Hopefully you're not doing this under a palm tree, a coconut tree. Take a few more breaths. Can you breathe fully in and out? We're doing this bridge to contribute to spine stability, core stability. And come on back up. Let's retest your ability to go from gateway to mesh and see if that feels any more stable or accessible. Okay. The next two movements are a bit more conditioning and a little less mobility, but we're really in the mix of both. So the first thing to do is come to your hands and knees and drop your chest between your shoulders. Your spine will go into some extension, that's fine, and press the ground down so that the back of the heart comes up. So the focus here is not cat and cow, it's shoulders. Now at first, it'll probably feel a little sharp. This is not a movement that most people know how to do fluidly. So find a way to reflect on what's going on in your shoulders and neck to control the flow. And then remember to breathe all the way in and all the way out. What you're looking for, what I'd like you to look for, is a sense of greater and greater teamwork here. So right shoulder and left shoulder. Your brain. How do your knees feel on the ground? Can you be aware of the whole of it? Is there anything in your nervous system or range of motion that's causing some interference? Rest a moment. Do one more variation of that. Now, you might have actually started to get tired in the shoulders. Like I said, this is actually a bit of conditioning. A lot of the smaller muscles, the stabilizing muscles in your shoulders, they get ignored through a lot of the movements that we do for exercise typically, or they atrophy through the positions and the habits we have during the day. This next version, remember we were wide with gateway and we're pretty wide with mesh. So we're going to do another version of that, but with a bit more width. Hands come down, go a little wider than shoulder width. You might want to turn your hands out if that feels better for your wrists. And again, drop your heart and then press away. Keep your breathing pattern fluid. And look to really smooth this out now. You go all the way up and all the way down without pausing or without glitching. And it's totally fine if you do notice some glitches in one shoulder or the other. Our shoulders are developed usually differently because you're right-handed or you're left-handed or you write or you type or drive. So any judgments that you have about your own inner imbalances, consider them interference too. And the part of you that is judgeable and discernible, how can you bring that online as part of your team? Okay, let it go. We're going to come down to a bridge for our last move here. In this bridge, we're going to lead and follow. One hip leads by coming up. The other hip follows. My right hip in this case leads by coming down, and the left hip follows. So we've got one hip that comes up, the other follows, one hip goes down, and the other follows. So it's a wavy follow the leader bridge. What should you do with your hands? Well, for the moment, just put them on the ground or put them on your belly. Following and leading yourself. Change directions. Smooth out your breathing. Feels a little cliche, but how can you be a great follower or leader if you can't follow and lead and follow with yourself? So what if we can use our bodies to begin the expansion of your own capacity for teamwork, collaboration, synarchy? Get out of your own way wherever you might be interfering. Change directions again. Now look for the smoothness, not the range of motion, but the smoothness. See if you can pick up the pace a bit. Change directions, right? It's a pivot. How many of us needed to pivot and continue to need to pivot during the pandemic, during whatever is coming to your life? Change directions one more time, and we'll do the other side too. And last pivot, switch directions. Make sure you're breathing. And relax. On back up to sitting. Would you like one more move? This one would be even more challenging, and it's going to be even more chaotic. It is a core exercise, but it's going to start simple and go everywhere. And it's going to be, it's going to feel like a lot of interference and a lot of chaos, and we're aiming towards teamwork and synarchy in the body. So on your back, legs up in the air. If that's challenging, it can be knees. So you can do this legs straight, legs, knees. Legs straight gives you more challenge. Knees or elbows bent makes it easier. So scale this for you. First, reach one foot and pull the other. Reach one foot and pull the other. So start with the feet. Okay. Now that you know how to do that, let that go. Do the same thing with your hands. Bend one wrist, flex the other. And once you know how to do that, go back to the feet. And what the heck just happened in your body and your brain? What's the pattern? Is there a pattern that you discovered? Okay. Start to add more movement. You've probably found a rhythm. Leverage that rhythm and expand it. Emphasize it. Begin to shift from side to side. As you add more complexity, do you start to forget anything? Or does some part of this start to just get lost? Which is fine, just notice. So you can go all the way from side to side. And somehow, in all of this, pivot to a completely new pattern. Surprise yourself with a completely different pattern. But notice the harmony. Last few seconds. And rest. Drop everything, take a big breath. Roll up to sitting. Okay, we'll finish now with our last and more integrative dive. We've got gateway and mesh. First of all, just how does that feel in your body? Does it feel a little more stable, a little more available? The two of these moves together, the bottom trigram as our base and foundation, and the top trigram as where we're going, creates an embodied story. Hey, we're going from self-esteem into joyful collaboration, at the risk of shame and collapse for the reward of joy with others. What the heck is teamwork? So I'm going to walk you through briefly the shadow, the gift, and the city of this hexagram. Your own job is to embrace whatever shows up in your experience and gently keep smoothing out the movement. And that gives you a tremendous mind-body activation and opening. And over the next few days, you can really experience a lot of synchronicity and awareness along these themes. So I wish you a fun time with that. Here we go. Gateway, shifting up and back. So when you acknowledge your capacity for teamwork, bring it forward. Let there be some movement. Generate some movement. But what is it about you that facilitates teamwork? Just back and forth now. What is it about you that's good that facilitates teamwork? What do you bring to a team that helps it thrive? Now the shadow. Interference. So allow this to drop in, just to collapse a little bit, kind of do this badly, and then do mesh badly, shift forward badly. So we're modeling the interference. Keep breathing. modeling interference. And what comes to your awareness? A memory or fear, anything? How does interference or has interference interfered with you? As you shift forward and back with gateway and mesh here, gently bring your attention more to the body, out of wherever your mind just went, and start to smooth out the movement. Like find a new flow. Me in the world, whatever that means. Me in the world. If your arms are getting tired, know that we're almost done. Find one last level here of just fluid flow. And as you do, observe the room that you're in. Just take in a little more of the all of it all. The all of it all, what the heck is that? Well, whatever it is, must be helpful. Last few moments, drop in the word synarchy. Go look it up later. Right now, feel it. Find a final pattern here and make it your own. Rest your arms to complete our practice. Close your eyes for just a moment. Bring one hand to your forehead and one hand to the back of your head. And give yourself the last 3 breaths to land, to come together. Well done. With loving fingernails, scratch your head, skin. Bring a little more yang into this very yin, receiving and change work. Rub your hands. Great job today. Thanks for being epic. Thanks for participating. Go have an amazing time sharing yourself and the teams that you're a part of, and have a wonderful, wonderful time.